Hello and welcome back to the NFL Draft Talk podcast where we are discussing everything NFL Draft. I'm Owain, that's Stu, duetting again for this episode. Today we are bringing you another top 5 positional rankings episode, and today we'll be exploring this excellent running back class. It's an elite class. Personally, it's my favourite position to scout, so I'm really excited to see what Stu also thinks of it. Spoilers, I think we are both going to really like it, and it's going to be an exceptionally good class. So firstly, Stu, how are you running backs today? I know you prefer normally discussing the trenches and the gritty players, but how did you find this running back class?
I have really enjoyed this running back class. I think it's one of the best classes in quite some time.
That's unusual for you. If people are tuning in for the first time this time round, that's unusual for you.
And it's not because it gives you an extra chance to watch offensive linemen this time and defensive linemen, because sometimes when I'm watching running backs, I'm like, yeah, they're running over that way. What's the offensive tackles and the guards doing? Not this time. I think those are some really, really good prospects to get into. I actually had fun watching some of these guys, so that will tell you all you need to know about this running back class. If you don't even want to listen to anything else, I wouldn't encourage you to, but that will tell you how much we like this running back class if I enjoyed watching it. So yeah, says it all really.
Yeah, we'll be giving you our top 5 rankings today. Look, we're going to be talking about an awful lot more prospects than our top 5 because the class is that good. We could go top 20 prospects, and that really wouldn't do this class justice because there are going to be dozens of them drafted throughout the 2025 NFL draft. So let's get our rankings started. Myself and Stu will go back and forth. Each of us will give our top 5 running back rankings in the 2025 NFL draft. Neither of us have seen each other's rankings in advance, so it'll be interesting to see how we align in this class. So Stu, get us started. Who is your number 5 on your list of top running backs?
So for number 5, and it won't be the last time, this time we're going to Ohio State. And for me, that's TreVeyon Henderson, the running back from Ohio State. 5'10", 208 pounds. He's been a real standout player for Ohio State since his freshman year. He had a really, really good freshman campaign with just over 1,200 yards and 15 touchdowns. Injuries in his sophomore year, but he still got over that 500 yards and got the 6 touchdowns. This year he bounced back, 926 yards and 11 touchdowns. When you consider he's sharing the backfield, 900 yards is nothing to sniff at. So he's had multiple all Big Ten honors, and he was one of the best running backs around. The fact that he's 5 for me shows how much good players there are in this draft, because a lot of years he could be 1 or 2. You know, he is that good of a player. He's got really powerful burst and acceleration, and he hits that hole when he sees it very, very quickly, allowing him to gain yards. He's got really good vision, but he can also be patient. Even though he has that acceleration to hit a hole, he waits for it to develop. He effectively reads box and finds the running lanes, and he's able to manipulate the defenders when he's able to use that cutback opportunities as well. His background early is a wide receiver, so he's a really good, reliable target in the passing game. He can catch the ball well, and he makes plays in space. He's got really good short yard agility, so in that real tight spaces, he's able to wriggle himself free from defenders, and he's able to force that missed tackles, which I know something that Owain loves to see. He can also bounce to the outside because he's quick enough to do it as well, and he can outrun that pursuing defenders. For me, the things maybe not on so good side, I think he needs a bit of improvement in pass blocking.
No, you joke, really?
Yeah, do you not think so?
No, I thought he was the best pass blocking running back in this class. I thought he was an elite pass protector.
I still think he throws his shoulder in a little bit for me. But then that's maybe looking at it a different blocking technique eyes, because I'm used to the offensive lineman. But I think he is better. There is guys who are far worse, but I think it's that throwing that shoulder in for me. He's had some nagging injuries, but that's about it. Other than that, I think he's a really good prospect.
Yeah. He was someone, you catch your mind back to 18 months, summer scouting 2 years ago, he was expected to be the running back 1 in last year's class, and those injuries took its toll. He didn't end up declaring for last year and say he would have slipped on the board. Anyway, so I mentioned it there. I think he is elite in the passing game. I think as a pass rush protector, I thought he was absolutely exceptional. I also think he is the best pass catching running back in this class. That his explosive, twitchy movement, clean hands allows him to operate catching passes out of the backfield. He's just a big play consistently waiting to happen. Really patient behind the line of scrimmage, exceptional vision. His eyes stay downfield, say that vision, and then the anticipation for running holes. And when you think he's in a rotation as well with Quinshon Judkins, who I'm sure we're going to be talking about, that he hasn't had much of a load. He's also really secure with the ball. Only one fumble in his college career. 5'10", 208 as well. But yeah, that explosive, twitchy movement, patience behind the line of scrimmage, I think just combines really well to being a 3-down back at the NFL level. I really, really liked TreVeyon Henderson. I had him at number 3.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's really close with the rank. You could have, if someone had a running back at 3 or 4 in this class and someone else had him at 10, it'd be difficult to argue because there are so many good running backs in this class. I'll move to my number 5. My number 5 is Cam Skattebo from Arizona State, who was one of college football's top players in 2024, well worthy of being in the Heisman Trophy discussion. 293 carries, 1,711 rushing yards, 21 touchdowns, averaged 131 rushing yards per game, which is just absolutely exceptional. Also was a really good pass catcher, 45 receptions for 605 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was the only player in the country to have over 1,000 rushing yards and over 400 receiving yards. That he is just extremely physical as a runner. I described him as a bulldozer. He will just drive you out of the way. He's got a really good low center of gravity, quick active footwork, which just allows him to punish through contact. He's also extremely powerful, hitting running lanes. Elite contact balance. That's his A+ trait, where he can bounce off defenders, stay square, stay balanced, power through tackles. Also elusive enough as well. He's got good lower body weight to duck and dive, and he's also got that violent strength and thunderous leg drive to power downhill. So yeah, that non-stop motor as well, high energy. He just isn't going to offer you a lot in terms of athleticism, that his athletic traits. He's not going to be that home run hitting back. But look, the fact that he's going to turn an 80-yard run into a 75-yard run doesn't particularly concern me. He's not got that top gear, but he's still going to be plenty quick enough. Say that lack of twitchy athleticism, short area acceleration, held him back a little bit. But look, you can't argue with the production, and you can't argue with the physicality, the frame. There's not a lot to like with Cam Skattebo. I guess you could say that he maybe doesn't have the highest ceiling, but my God, he's going to bring you a really high floor at the next level.
Yeah, I think Cam Skattebo he's a real kind of natural feel for the game. He's got really good vision, and he's able to exploit running lanes really well. He can extend the runs through broken tackles. He consistently gains yards after contact. He almost sometimes looks for contact. He just loves that physicality. He's got a really relentless attitude. He pushes through tackles. As you said, Owen, he's a really capable receiver. He's got nice, good, soft hands, and he could be a really reliable check-down option if need be. He's a willing blocker. He'll put himself in there. He just lacks that elite speed, I think, to break away from defenders at the next level. And he doesn't have that kind of quick burst through the hole into the second level as well. And I just wonder if he plays with the same physicality, whether he's going to withstand all that absolute hammerings that he takes. But boy, he loves it. He just seems to live and love football. I had him at 6, so we're not far off. We're not far off on that one.
Yeah. I think that's about right. He's going to be like that round. You could see him go in round 2, but I would say round 3 grade is about fair for Cam Skattebo as it is for a lot of these running backs. Who do you have it for?
Caleb Johnson from Iowa. So he's been a really key player for Iowa. as a productive running back over his 3 seasons, where he has had his last season was 1,345 yards and 15 touchdowns. He excels in that kind of zone running scheme where he's able to press vertically and make quick decisions. He's a knack for finding a good route for the yardage in tight spaces. He's got really good vision. He's patient behind the line of scrimmage and he waits for his blocks to develop. He's got size and strength to block defenders and protect his quarterback when he needs to. He wasn't really used in the passing game very much at Iowa, but his hands look pretty good when he got that opportunity. He's well positioned. He seems a sturdy, kind of rugged runner. He kind of has a bit of a blend of power and agility. He maybe isn't the most elusive, and he's somebody who just lacks that elite breakaway speed. And I think he is a bit more reliable on his decisiveness and his vision rather than his sudden agility. I think he's just a really, really reliable presence for me, and that's what pushed him up a little bit. I think you just know what you're getting there, and he'll just churn out yards, and you can hand him off the ball and know that he's just going to be productive.
Yeah, I ranked him at number 6 in this class, but I almost have him in the same tier as Cam Scatterby, and think they're quite similar prospects in a way where they lack that twitchy movement, which does hold them back on certain plays. So yeah, with Caleb Johnson, I almost say he's almost a pure north-south runner who thrives between the tackles, but he's more than just a north-south runner. Where, even though he thrives working, over the line of scrimmage, he's got a good enough ankle flexibility and lower half bend to make defenders miss. 225 pounds, so he's heavy, and he plays heavy as well. He's punishing through contact. He's got really good toughness, physicality, and that allows him to gain extra yardage by a forward lean. So he's being wrapped up, but that physicality is going to allow him to get an extra 2-3 yards on every play, just because of that toughness. But I think that lack of twitchy movement hinders him behind the line of scrimmage. He's someone who gets locked up too often for my liking behind the line of scrimmage, where the play doesn't necessarily develop the way that the offense expected. That I don't think, while he's got good vision to hit lanes, when there isn't any, that he gets stuffed behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he doesn't have that ability to break out wide, I don't think. I think that's maybe where he gets stuck there. He can't just take off and burn around the edge.
Right, yeah. So yeah, he's got good vision, but that vision almost gets unlocked once he's into the second level and he's working through space. I don't think he necessarily has the exceptional vision behind the line of scrimmage. He lets the play develop, which is always a good thing, but sometimes the offensive line doesn't always win the way you expect it to, and in those cases I think he gets clogged up behind the line of scrimmage too often. So yeah, it's that lack of change of direction, the lack of twitchy movement, and which hinders him, which made him number 6 for me. But hey, that is good in this class. If you're the 6th best running back in this class, that's really good. So yeah, I say number 6. That means I really like him. It's difficult to explain. Number 3, we've done 5 and 4 there, have we? I'm losing track already. We're going for 2 here.
Yeah, I've definitely had.
Yeah, you've done. Yeah, so you're on number 3. So who's your?
I've lost track of who you've had, but yeah, I'll believe you. Number 3 for me is back to Ohio State again, Quinshon Judkins. He was one of my favourite players to watch. I really liked watching him. He's just fun. So he obviously began his college career at Ole Miss, where he had that immediate impact and had really 2 successful seasons. Transferred over to Ohio State, where he formed that dynamic duo with TreVeyon Henderson, and obviously ultimate championship there for Ohio State, with those 2 playing a big part. 1,060 yards and 14 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns. And as I say, in a backfield where he's sharing carries is really good. He's got a really powerful burst and acceleration. He's able to quickly hit the hole and gain yardage. He's strongly built. He's got that kind of low center of gravity. He's difficult to bring down because of it, and he constantly breaks through tackles. He kind of combines that strength and size with a bit of speed as well, and he can make those long runs. I think he's just got natural running instincts and good vision. He can receive out the backfield, although he maybe didn't take the most receiving out the backfield in that duel for understandable reasons. He can do it when he needs to. And I think that's something that might be unlocked at the NFL level because he didn't have the same opportunity maybe at Ohio State. He definitely isn't his most elusive runner. He definitely does more in that power and straight line we've talked about. But he can make people miss. He can bounce off people, and he will make yards sometimes out of nothing, just using that power and pace. I just think he was fun, and I really enjoyed watching him. And so for me, he was number 3.
Yeah, number 4 for me. So we've been there or thereabouts with both the Ohio State running backs. I think he's an electric runner. He's physical when he needs to be. He's bruising when he needs to be.
He just gets you out of your seat.
Yeah, that he can do both things. He can be on one play. He can be electric mover. He's light on his feet. He squeezes through gaps, and then on the next play, he's just going to drive through contact and run you over. That he can mix up his strategy really well. That say on one line. He rarely gets locked up. We mentioned with Caleb Johnson before that he rarely gets locked up behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, because he's got a different idea.
Yeah, he can exploit really small holes, and he just spots things that other running backs don't necessarily. He's got really good ball security as well. 3 career fumbles. So it was at Ole Miss before moving over to Ohio State and has elite production over 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns in each of his last 3 college seasons. In 2024 was his lowest total in terms of production because he was sharing that load. But you almost have to take the career in entirety. That there's very little not to like about Quinshon Judkins. His contact balance to play through contact is exceptional. Explosive first step to plant his foot and burst through running lanes. Patient behind the line of scrimmage as well. He's just. I love using the adjective thunderous when it comes to power for running backs. That
he just rumbles down that field, doesn't he?
Yeah, that you talk about running back rooms. You go thunder and lightning. Who's the thunder? Who's the lightning? And Quinshon Judkins can be both for you. That's what's really good about him. So he's got a powerful runner, but really light, fluid athleticism. I think he's more elusive than he's given credit for as well. The fact he's happy to share the lead as well. That he was. As a freshman, this is the next big thing as a running back, and then he repeats it again in his sophomore season at Ole Miss, and then decides to transfer to Ohio State. Although it's paid off in the end, but if he had stayed at Ole Miss and then took the whole load, especially in that offense, that we're probably talking about him more heavily. So I
think it's not a bad thing for when you think about longevity of career as a running back.
Yeah.
Going, you're still going to get drafted highly, but you've run half the amount of snaps that
He only had 194 carries in 2024 and still had over 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns, as well as 161 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. So he just makes things happen. I think he can still grow as well. I think that he's still evolving, say, because of that low carry rate in 2024. I think he's almost secured that. I would like him to play at full speed all the time. I think there's certainly some plays when he knows he's not going to get the ball and he doesn't do very much to sell it. But look, if that's all I have, then you are a very good running back. And yet I have him at number 4.
Yeah, I think we'll see his name called reasonably early on Friday night.
Yeah, I think wherever you are at on this running back class, you're too low at this moment. Because I think it could go either way in terms of how do teams think we could get if we can get a really good one later on. So we'll wait it out, and that means that the whole stack of running backs ends up dropping for that. Like, do I want to take TreVeyon Henderson in round 2, or do I think I might be able to get RJ Harvey or Kyle Monongai or someone else in round 5? Some teams might think, we'll wait, and then they get pushed down the board, or in a class which is it's a very good class that people will tell you it's a poor class. It's not. It's just the talent evaluation is so close for almost every prospect. There isn't just the tier of prospect is so clogged on day 2 that players go, look, he's just the best player available, so we take him. It's difficult to know which way it'll go But in terms of quality of prospect, they'll be, if I was to do a top 32 players, I would have my top 3 at least running backs in those top 30 odd players. So it is very, very good. Talking about very, very good, look, we're going to have the same 1 and 2 here. We better have the same 1 or 2. You have Omarion Hampton at number 2 as well?
Yeah. I'm not throwing you a curveball.
Can I? I'll take Hampton. You take Jeanty.
Go.
Yeah.
I'll speak after.
Omarion Hampton. You are all too low on Omarion Hampton. He is an exceptional prospect. He can genuinely do it all. The 6 foot, 220 pounds, plays low, has churning leg drive. Again, I'll use thunderous, but it is churning. Active. His vision is absolutely exceptional. He can create something from nothing. His capacity to be a playmaker when the play breaks down is up there with the best in this class. 281 carries, 1,660 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns, was also a big factor in the receiving game, 373 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. He can literally do it all, and he is being completely underrated at this point as a runner and as a receiving threat. He is physical. He'll turn what should be a 3-yard loss into a 1-yard gain because he plays over his toes. He's got this natural lean through contact, which allows him to fend it off, fight through contact, and avoid tackles. But also when he does get wrapped up, he can lean forward and fall forward, which gets those extra couple of yards, which consistently moves the chains. I think he is an exceptional prospect. I love him. The last mock we did, I had him going to the Cowboys because Jeanty was already off the board. I'm more than happy with that. I think Omarion Hampton is that good of a prospect. He would be in my top 15 players in the draft if I was to make a big board right now. Look, yes, he could improve his pass protection. I could say that about every player on this list, apart from Henderson, who we talked about earlier. I think he is going criminally underrated at this very moment, and he's still most people's running back too. If it wasn't for Ashton Jeanty, I think we are talking about Omarion Hampton as a much higher rated player than we currently are.
Yeah, this draft cycle has been particularly, not maybe in the last short while, but it's been Ashton Jeanty and then the rest.
Yes.
I think that gap is much, much smaller than people give credit for. I have a fantasy league with some of my mates, and one of my mates always puts in, he's not the biggest draft fan, but this is what my top 10 is going to be, blah, blah, blah. And I was playing, this is my top 10, what I think this is what I would do. This week. I had Omarion Hampton going 10 if I was drafting.
Love it.
So because I already had Jeanty going off the board.
Yeah.
And only a few places higher. And I would feel really comfortable saying that to anybody. I think he's that good of a prospect. The gap at the top, I wouldn't be surprised if some teams had Omarion Hampton as their running back 1.
Wow.
I
would, but I love the enthusiasm.
It won't be a lot.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority will have Jeanty, but there's always 1 or 2 teams who just have view things.
I don't think you're crazy to say that either, because I think a lot of teams just won't put Ashton Jeanty on their board at all because they know they've got no chance of getting him. But you're talking about some teams in the the late teens, 20s. They just won't bother putting him on the board.
I think there'll still be teams will have him regardless. Who will like Omarion because he is that good of a prospect. In most other years, he would be the RB1. Maybe not the Bijan Robinson year, but in a lot of other years, we've seen run backs. He is that good a prospect. There's nothing that he can't do. He would be on the field in all 3 downs. Yeah. He can pass catch. He's a willing blocker. He has got great vision. He's quick. He's got size. He can handle a big workload if he needs to. There's not much he can't do, and I think that I would put. I'm not a big gambler. I would put money on he's not there by the mid to late 20s. I think he's well gone by then.
Yeah. Oh, I would love that to happen because I think he he deserves to be talked about a lot more than he actually is being, and we're all guilty of that. And if you're listening or watching this, I don't need you to go and watch 6-7 games of Omarion Hampton. Just watch a 2-minute highlight video, and you'll get a glimpse of what he can offer you, because he is just an exceptional visionary running back who I think would be the top back in a lot of classes. We've had a lot of good top running backs who were deserving of round 1 grades recently. You talk about Bijan Robinson and the like, Jameer Gibbs, but I would put Omarion Hampton in that tier of deserving those high grades too. That I can't speak highly enough of the guy. I think we could probably say the same about the number 1 guy, right? Ashton Jeanty. Your turn to take up the mantle here.
Wow. What a year he had, didn't he? 2,601 yards, 29 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Runner-up Heisman Trophy. He didn't have a bad year the year before with 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns as well.
Should probably just say that those 2,601 rushing yards, that finished 28 yards shy of Barry Sanders' all-time record.
Yeah.
28 yards is all he needed to match him.
That is in a stratosphere that very few people will ever reach in college football.
Yeah.
He is consistent. He can handle a heavy workload. Rushing for that amount of yards. He has got insane contact balance. He's like a pinball machine. He just bounces around there. He forced 151 missed tackles in 2024, with over 1,900 of his rushing yards coming after contact.
I have it down more than I have 170 missed tackles.
Well, there you go. But he's got
either way, it's a silly number.
Over 1,900 yards after contact.
Yeah.
That is. He's just so difficult to bring down, but I think that also belies the fact he doesn't just run at trouble. He's not just bouncing around there for the sake of it. It's because people are running to try and get hold of him that he has all this contact, and they're loading the boxes. He's not got much room to work in. So he's got to be contacted very, very quickly. But despite that, he is patient and he does let the plays develop. He's got good vision. He has really good long speed. Once he gets up ahead of steam, once he finds an open lane, builds up the head of steam, he can fly away from people. He is slightly on the shorter side, but is that a big major issue for him? I don't think so. He's got a real low center of gravity, and he's powerful at that size as well. He's had a special college career. I can't see him being anything other than very good at the NFL level. Even for teams who do not have the best offensive line, he will still work well. If he goes behind a good offensive line, absolutely look out.
Yeah, he is a special prospect. His contact balance, I think it's fair to say, is some of the best we've ever evaluated. That 170 forced missed tackles in 2024 is what I've got it down at. Either way, it's just an extraordinary stat for such a remarkable player. Patient behind the line of scrimmage, elite vision, explosive off the snap to drive through. His tape is just a completely clean projection that there's just not a lot that Jeanty can't do. I suppose if you wanted to build the prototypical running back, you'd want him to have had less carries than he did. But I'm not sure that's necessarily a worry. And I would just have one thing to say to NFL teams, which would be, please don't have this guy pass protecting, because his technique is pretty dreadful, to be honest with you. That's dreadful. We're at the point where who cares? Yeah, you don't want him pass protecting. You want the ball in his hands.
The theory that I always have with prospects as well: accentuate the positives, hide the negatives.
Yeah.
Why make him do it? Why? If you know you're going to pass the ball and you want to run it back to protect, just don't have him on the field. There's no point to it. But
you want the ball in his hands anyway.
Yeah. Why expose him to it if he's not good at it? So I'm not going to really care that much about it.
Yeah. He's rightly being spoken about as one of the top prospects in the class, a top 5 player in this class, one of the top running backs that we've evaluated. He's been spoken about to death. I think everyone already knows about Ashton Jeanty, but I think we're right to point out just how good he is. They are our top 5s. I know we've both watched a lot of running backs. Who else would you like to touch on?
Yeah, wanted to touch on Ollie Gordon, running back from Oklahoma. I just wanted what you thought about him. I thought the year before last, his junior year, he had a really, really good season at Oklahoma. Just a tick under 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, and I was really expecting him to kick on this year. It didn't really happen for him.
Hasn't happened at all. Yeah,
just hasn't happened. But I still think there's something there. If you look at the season before, he's got a blend of size and strength. He's got good footwork. He finishes runs well. He lowers his pad. He's got good ball security. He can run the route if he needs to, and he's passable. I had him at 9, but I think there's still something there. And if we could just get that spark back, teams could be on a good running back there.
Yeah, I had him at 15.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's again, his 2023 tape is exceptional, but it just didn't happen in 2024, and you can't disregard that. That you hope he could get back to what he was, but it's difficult to completely ignore what happened this past year. Yeah,
I just feel there's just more there, and I just wanted it to come out this year, and it just kind of fell a bit flat. Yeah. I just don't think Oklahoma were the greatest team in the world this year either, and I don't know if that was part of it. If there was something injury-wise, I don't know.
Yeah, it just didn't happen. One guy it did happen for, Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, who was the lead rusher in the SEC. He's explosive. His speed is elite, and he would have been 7 for me.
I'd have been 8. So
yeah, he's a guy who I could see go on day 2 because his explosive movement, elite vision took a massive step forward in 2024. So I really liked what I saw from Dylan Sampson. I think he's going to be a really good back. He is on the light side, so we'll see how that projects to the NFL. But I think teams will really like him.
It's clocked over 22 miles an hour, so he can shift.
Yeah, he moves. A player that I really wanted to speak about was Devin Neal, who again is another player I don't think gets enough recognition in this class. That he is super explosive. He's slippery. He can evade tackles. Exceptional vision. That he doesn't necessarily have the strength or the power profile, and he needs to improve his contact balance at times, which means he's not going to challenge the top of this class. But he's got awesome vision. He fits through lanes and squeezes through lanes. Elite elusiveness in short areas. I think he will be a steal at somewhere on day 3.
I had him at 7.
Yeah,
really liked him. Another player, maybe being a little bit of a homer, RG Harvey.
I like him. 10 for me.
11 for me, so again, fairly similar.
Yeah,
he had a really good senior season, over 1,500 yards, 22 touchdowns. He's kind of that shorter, low center of gravity as well. He's got really quick cuts. He's got a good burst, and he can accelerate through holes quite quickly. And he's got a good receiving hands as well. I think he's someone who sometimes is a little bit too patient and misses the gaps at times. And again, just a bit of size concerns maybe with him.
Yeah, he's
one of the
shorter.
Smaller backs. Yeah. He's shorter. But again, he had a really good season at UCF, and I think he'll be a good in a committee somewhere.
Yeah. Averaged 6.8 yards per attempt in 2024. He's a light mover, but he is decisive when he hits running lanes. That he explodes through them. He's got really good geared and layered acceleration. I think he had really good vision as well. Just gliding movement and in the passing game, I think he's a really developing pass catcher, is the way I would phrase it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That he can make things happen but that's going to need evolving at the next level. But I think there's something there to work with. There's just a host of names, whether it's Damian Martinez, DJ Giddens, Raheem Sanders, Jordan James from Oregon I really liked. There's just, you could go down the list and down the
Smith.
list. Yeah,
SMU quite liked him as well.
Yeah, receiver convert. Yeah.
Thoughts on somebody I thought I might like more, but it wasn't, like Trevor Etienne?
Yeah. Powerful runner,
I was expecting to like him more, and he's a big name, played for big programs. I thought I was just a bit let down with what I saw from him.
Yeah, I think he'll be limited to a committee role. He's better in the passing game and as a receiver than his draft stock would probably see, and he's got a low center of gravity, but I think his limited pass protection will mean that he'll struggle to see the field on every down. He'll be kind of a thumper in a committee who can then offer you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, all in all, this is a class that there's lots of running backs that if your team needs one, there's plenty to choose from.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if your team needs one, take two, because you're going to, later on in the draft, we're talking about a few there, but you're going to get people who are going to fill out the room in the 6th and 7th round who normally would go a lot higher. Top fives then. That's just go over them again. So for me, number 5 was Cam Scatterby, 4 was Quinshon Judkins, 3 was TreVeyon Henderson, 2 was Omarion Hampton, and 1 was Ashton Jeanty. What about for you?
Yeah, so 5 was TreVeyon Henderson from Ohio State, Iowa's Caleb Johnson at 4, Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State 3, Omarion Hampton at 2, and Boise State Ashton Jeanty at 1.
Good. Excellent stuff. Stu, thank you again for joining me. Hopefully just how good this running back class has come across, because it is an elite group that we have fallen in love with. We'll be back with some more draft chatter in the next few days, but until then, all the good housekeeping stuff. If you can make sure you're subscribed. If you've made it this far, you might as well subscribe to the channel. That would be magic. And obviously interact with us. Let us know what you think of the running back class in the YouTube comments. Until then, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you very soon for some more draft talk.